Hi everyone, I'm Sammy from Body and Birth Physio, and I'm going to be chatting all about the pelvic floor, how it works, what it does, and our whole body approach to pelvic floor health. And if we haven't met before, as I said, my name's Sammy. I am in my practice, Body and Birth Physiotherapy, which is in Brisbane, and we provide consults and treatment to women in person here in Brizzy and online consultations to women all over the world. So if you're watching today, I'd love to see where you're watching from, so leave a comment and let me know. But let's jump into it. I'd like to introduce Patty, my pelvis, because we're here in Paddington. And as you can see, for our pelvic model, we have all of the bones that surround the pelvis. So your spine at the back, your hip bones on the side, pubic bone at the front, tailbone at the back. But then inside, all of those red muscles are your pelvic floor. And so they have a few really important roles to play, including controlling bladder and bowel, stabilizing the pelvis, supporting all of the organs from underneath, and then allowing things to, hi Lisa, allowing things to enter. So during intercourse, for example, but then also letting things out. So letting babies out, but also bowel and bladder movements. So the pelvic floor is a pretty amazing and key group of muscles for the function of the whole body, but they don't work alone. These muscles are kind of just one piece of the system. They work with the diaphragm above. So if I step back here, we've got our pelvis lower down, we've got our diaphragm up here, and then all of the abdominal muscles around the middle, which all work together. And the cooperation, the coordination of all of those pieces will determine how effectively these muscles can do their job. The other key component of your pelvic floor health is the support from the outside, which is primarily the glutes. So for long-term pelvic floor health, we really need to start looking beyond just pelvic floor exercises. We can't just do kegels and neglect what the rest of the system is doing. So this is where we come into our whole body approach to pelvic floor. Now, when things aren't working so great for these pelvic floor muscles, they can lead to a range of different conditions. So the most common one that we think of is urinary incontinence. So that's where we might have some leaking when you don't want to, whether it's with sneezing, coughing, laughing, or exercise. It could be prolapse. So pelvic organ prolapse is where the organs are starting to sit a little bit lower in the pelvis and sometimes bulging into the vagina, which can cause discomfort or affect the processes of the emptying of bladder and bowel. If the pelvic floor muscles are holding too much tension or working too hard, that can lead to discomfort with intercourse, pelvic pain, and affect the control and stability around the pelvis, as well as leading to things that we usually associate with weakness, like incontinence and prolapse. So in order to have a healthy pelvic floor performing all of its roles really well, we need these muscles not just to be really strong, but also really supple. And this is where kegels, which focus on the strength, tend to miss out of the whole other aspect, which is the relaxation of the pelvic floor, the suppleness, the extensibility, particularly if we're thinking, say, pregnancy and childbirth. If we're planning for a vaginal delivery, we want these muscles, which are the last exit point for baby before they enter the world, to be really nice and supple to allow for that smooth birth. The good news is, whenever you are standing, sitting, moving, walking, carrying your babies, the pelvic floor is actually working all the time. These muscles are constantly responding to the loads above them. So the rest of your torso, the weight of your baby when you're pregnant, and then also the forces and loads generated while you're moving. So when you're walking, even just the simple act of standing up from a chair will increase the load or force on these pelvic floor muscles and allow them to respond and work as a response to that load. So movement is such a key factor in strengthening the pelvic floor and allowing it to work responsibly throughout the day. So if you are watching and if you have any questions, feel free to type them in. I'll answer them as we go. But there's a few more things that I wanted to touch on. We talked about the strength of the pelvic floor and kegels. And I love the fact that so many people are aware of their pelvic floor muscles now, and that they are aware of kegels and pelvic floor exercises, which are focused on the strength. But the majority of people that I see have challenge in relaxing the pelvic floor. So if we can even just start to be aware of when you're contracting your pelvic floor, doing that lifting up, really be sure to relax those muscles all the way down. And a good majority of the people that I have worked with tend to hold more tension in those muscles. So they actually have too tight muscles throughout their pelvic floor. And so continuing to do strengthening exercises, pelvic floor exercises, is not the answer. And over the course of the next few weeks, we'll talk about different options to help restore that health and that suppleness, as well as strength to the pelvic floor muscles. But if you want to get started right away, I'll pop in a link. We have a fabulous free downloadable ebook with 5 of my top tips to improve your pelvic floor health. So if you are interested, leave a comment below and I can send it to you, and I'll put up the link and you can start learning about how you can improve your pelvic floor health today. So thanks for joining me on my very first Facebook Live. Of course, if you have any questions later on, feel free to comment and I'll be answering them throughout the week. Thanks.